What's up, folks? Today I'm going to be reviewing the game Blockade. This game came out in 1975 from Lakeside Games, and it is for 2 players. Now, Blockade is called the Beat the Barrier strategy game, and the object of this game is you're going to be trying to move one of your 2 pawns into one of your opponent's home spaces. You're also going to be placing barriers along the board in order to try to impede his progress into getting into your home space. So, without further ado, let's show you Blockade. Okay, everybody, I'm going to go ahead and show you the components as always. Right here you have your board, and this is basically a grid that's got some indentations in here where you're going to be placing your barriers. You also have 2 pawns on each side, and there's a dot on the board that will show you where you will start them, and this is also the home space. And red is going to be trying to attempt to get to yellow's home space, and vice versa. Now, you only have to get one of your pawns into your opponent's home space to win the game. Right here you have your blue walls, and you also have your green walls. Now, after you move your pawn, you're going to be placing one of these walls on the board. The blue ones are horizontal and the green ones are vertical. And once you run out of walls to place on the board, you're just going to simply move your pawns as normal. Now, there's 2 things you're going to be doing on your turn. The first is you're going to be moving one of your pawns, and you're going to move it 2 spaces in basically any direction. So you can move this way, you can move this way, etc. So let's just say I decide I'm going to go ahead and move here. And the next thing you're going to do is you're going to place one of these barriers onto the grid. And let's just say I decide I'm going to go ahead and do a horizontal wall. And let's just say I decide I'm going to place it right here. Now, the purpose of the walls is you're going to be trying to use it to impede the progress of your opponent's pawns. The main rule with the wall is that the only thing you can't do with the wall is you can't block a pawn in, and you also have to leave at least one of these grooves open to where your opponent's pawn will be able to get to your own home space. And so let's just say my opponent decides to go, and he decides he's going to move this guy over here. And what he decides to do is he's going to place one vertically, and he's going to go ahead and place it right over here, like so. And so red once again goes, and he decides he's going to move this guy. And so let's just say he moves him over here. And then he goes ahead and decides he's going to go ahead and place a barrier himself. So he decides to place a barrier right over here. And basically that's the way the game is going to go. I'll just move a couple more times. Let's just say yellow goes, he moves over here. And he places this over here. And let's say I go, and let's say I move this way. And then I go ahead and I place a wall over here. Now there's just a couple of rules as far as movement goes. If there is a pawn that is in your way, like 2 spaces in front of you, you're going to only be able to move him 1 space. The other rule is that you're not going to be able to jump over anybody, and if for some reason you decide to leave one of your pawns in your own home space, your opponent can just very simply remove your pawn and then take over. If that ever happens, is he's like right here and you have a pawn here, he can take it off and then put his thing over there. And so play is going to continue on like this, and the first player to move one of his pawns to his opponent's home space is going to win the game. So my final thoughts on Blockade. Okay, it's a good strategy game, very basic rules, very simple rules. And this is a game that works well, I think. One of the big important things is where you place your wall. Do you want to place your wall close to your home space? Do you want to place it close to where your opponent's pawns are? Do you want to try to place it somewhere else and try to build another barrier somewhere? The barriers are what make this game work. And of course, moving your pawn also is part of the game as well. You probably are going to know that your opponent is probably going to be placing blockades near your pawn. So you have to kind of figure out where you're going to move your pawn and which one you're going to move. So there is a little bit of thinking that goes on in this game. I ended up finding this game at a thrift store somewhere out of town for maybe $1 or so. Now, I have a friend, Dude McMahon. He's the one that sends me games sometimes to review. He actually had this game, and I was actually going to have him send it to me. But now, since I own a copy, I'm not going to need him to. However, he does have another game from the same company called Trespass that I would like to do eventually. Now, you know most strategy games will say easy to learn, tough to master. Those are typically their good ones. This one's very easy to learn. As far as being tough to master, I'm not quite sure how tough that is because I've only played the game a limited amount of times. If you find this game for cheap, I would recommend it. I think it probably goes for about $15 on eBay. But yeah, definitely pick this up if you see this at a thrift store if you like light strategy games. So guys, that is my review of Blockade. I hope you all have a great day. Happy gaming.